Yo, what's up, my fellow immortals? Welcome back to The Source. I'm your host, Russell Nash, and this is the #1 spot for Highlander, the card game. This video is going to be exactly what the title of the video is. It's going to be short and sweet. It's going to be exactly what new players should be doing, trying to get into Highlander, the card game. But before I jump right into the video, I just want to say there is a new set out right now for Highlander. You can find the new set at highlanderthecardgame.com, all one word, highlanderthecardgame.com. I made a video talking about the new set. I told you what was going to come in the new set. I gave you a little sneak preview and why it was so good for the game. So why don't you tell me down in the comments what you think about the set, if you've been able to get your hands on it, and your overall thoughts on everything about it. So without further ado, let's get into it. My advice for a new player is fairly simple, okay? It's really straightforward. Now, if you're a veteran player and you've been playing this game since its inception and you have cards from every edition of the game, from first to second to the very brief third, this video is not really intended for you. Your input and your opinions are extremely valuable, but this video is not really directed towards you. This video is going to be directed towards a brand new player, somebody who might only have a couple of cards, or they might be able to find just a very limited amount of product. They really like the game. They want to play it. They want to teach some of their friends how to play it. This video is going to be directed towards them. It's not going to be for the veteran player who, like I said, has every card and can pick and choose what they want to play, which formats of the game they want to play, and how they want to build their decks. This video is for the new player. So with that being said, I hope veteran players can kind of see and remember what it's like to be a new player. And new players, I hope that at the end of this video, you can see kind of where you stand when it comes to getting into this game. So with that being said, my advice is very simple. It's just 3 words for new players, and that is play first edition. Now, I'm going to explain why I think you should be playing first edition, and I will justify those reasons with what I think, in my opinion, is just an undeniable fact. So if you're a veteran player and you heard me say that, you probably thought, why won't you tell a new player to play Type 1? Why would you tell them to start with first edition? Type 1 is a better format. It's better for the game. It fixes a lot of different things, etc. I understand that, and I would not disagree if a veteran player were to think a new player should start right at the Type 1 format. If you're a new player and you don't know really what Type 1 is, I'll break it down very simple, as fast as I can. Type 1 is a format of Highlander, the collectible card game, where you take cards from first edition, second edition, and from the very brief third, and you put them together and you build a deck, ignoring the deck building requirements and mechanics of Highlander, the card game, second edition. So with that being said, that's just a very brief description of what that kind of format is. Type 1, cards from all editions put together to build a deck. Now, the reason why I'm saying for a new player to not start with Type 1 is just a simple fact, and that is availability of product. In my opinion, you're going to need a solid collection of first edition cards as well as second and third to put together to make a decent Type 1 deck. And I think for a new player, that's just not going to be possible. They're just not really going to be able to get their hands on those needed second edition cards at the moment. They're not going to be able to get their hands on those cards right now. It's just simply, in my mind, I think that to be able to have a decent Type 1 deck, you're going to need cards, a good amount of cards from both editions. Now, I know that people understand that proxies are legal. You can proxy some cards and you can go from there. But, you know, and from my experience and from what I've seen from a lot of people, they don't really want to proxy cards in. They want to open packs. They want to build decks with what they get from those packs. They want to see what they can do with what they've been able to find. And I totally respect that. I understand that. And I also see the other side where proxies are legal and new players can experience all formats of the game and they can do things on their own like that, make proxies and play the game, the different additions to the game, first edition all the way through second edition, Type 2, etc. So I understand that. But for someone as a new player, they're more than likely going to want to build stuff that they can buy and find currently. That's just what I think, and I think a lot of new players would probably agree with that statement. I think the veteran players, it's been so long maybe that you don't really remember what it's like to not have everything at your disposal and all of the stuff that you would need. So that's my advice for new players. You should be playing first edition. And the reason is simple, like I said, availability of product. Okay, you're not going to be able to find second edition product in bulk. You're not going to be able to find a booster box, a starter deck. You're not really going to be able to find a versus deck. It's going to be nearly impossible to find those things. Okay, so that's why I'm telling a new player, start with first edition. You can still buy and find sealed products, sealed booster boxes and sealed starter deck boxes for first edition from many of the different core sets that were released in Highlander the card game first edition. You can still find Watcher's Chronicles booster boxes. I'll give you an example of what a Watcher's Chronicles booster box looks like right now. Check it out. You can also find the Gathering starter deck boxes, and I'll give you an example of what a box of Gathering looks like right now. Check this out. Now, the Gathering did come in boosters and starters, but you're not going to be able to find the Gathering boosters. It's going to be nearly impossible to find those, but you can still find Gathering starters. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Gathering came in boosters and starters. Boosters, you're not really going to be able to find, like I said, but starter decks you can definitely still find from the Gathering set, okay? Another set that you're going to be able to find sealed that only came in boosters, it didn't come in starters and boosters like the Gathering did, is Four Horsemen. And I'll give you an example of what a Four Horsemen box looks like right now. Check this out. So like I said, Four Horsemen was only in boosters, right? Now this is all first edition stuff that you can find right now sealed, right? The very first one that I showed you, Watcher's Chronicles, that also only came in boosters. So don't be looking for a starter deck box or a starter deck of anything Watchers. It's only going to be in boosters, right? So Four Horsemen and Watcher's Chronicles only came in boosters. Just remember that when you're making your purchases, so you're not looking around and wondering where the starter decks are for those. But besides Four Horsemen, you can still find series edition or series starter deck boxes. I'll give you an example of what a series starter deck box looks like. Check this out. Now, the sets that you're not going to be able to find from first edition, and if you do, it's going to be extremely rare, there are a couple of different sets that were released in first edition that, like I just said, is extremely rare to find sealed product for. You can still find singles for these cards or for these sets, but finding sealed product for these is going to be, nearly impossible. And that would be the Arms and Tactics set, right? That was the last set that was released, I believe the last major core set that was released for Highlander the card game first edition. It introduced a very much needed aspect of the game, weapons of choice. I'll make another video covering weapons of choice later, but just speaking for this video, an Arms and Tactics is going to be a product from first edition that's going to be really, really, really hard to find. It did come in starters and boosters, so it did come like the Gathering did in starters and boosters, okay? Now, another set that you're going to have a really, really hard time finding is movie edition, sealed movie edition stuff, either starters or boosters, because movie edition did come in starters and boosters. So Arms and Tactics, starters and boosters, and I'll give you an example of what Arms and Tactics looks like right now, so check this out. In movie edition, I'll give you an example of what a movie edition booster box looks like so you can kind of get a frame of reference. So go ahead and check this out. So like I was saying, movie edition starters and boosters and Arms and Tactics starters and boosters are going to be extremely, if not impossible, hard to find. But like I was saying earlier, you can still, as a new player, buy several sealed boxes from many of the core sets that were released for Highlander. And it's just not possible to do that for second edition right now. Now, big things are coming for Highlander, so you should really stay tuned and kind of keep your ear to the ground for this, because in 2023, there are some really amazing things coming for Highlander the card game. As the year approaches and as it gets further into the year, into 2023, we're going to be talking more about what's going to be coming. It's going to be amazing. I think a lot of players are going to be getting what they're hoping and they're asking for, so just keep your eyes open for that, and I'll be doing more about that kind of stuff as it gets closer to that point. But strictly for new players right now currently trying to play, you should be playing first edition. You should be buying what you can of first edition. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't try to build your second edition collection as you go. That's not what I'm saying at all. Pick up what you can for second edition right now. That's exactly why I think the new set is so great. Pick up what you can, as well as be buying what is available for first edition. Be taking advantage of what is available for first edition, because what you can get from the sets that are available right now from first edition, and you can buy these boxes and these booster boxes and these starter deck boxes for relatively cheap, sealed. What you can get out of them, you can build decent decks for what comes in these, and you can get a good understanding of how this game really works at a more in-depth level than just playing here and there. You can really start to understand why this game is so much fun and why I think a lot of people need to be aware of this game in general. So that's just what I think for a new player. It comes down to availability of product. Build your second edition collection as well as you go. But I think that new players should really be starting out in first edition, playing first edition, learning the game in first edition, because the veteran players are going to say play type 1. I'm going to say stay with first edition because of availability of product. And like I said, the type 1 format, how you build a deck, you're going to need a solid collection from both first and second to put together. And I don't think that is really viable for a new player currently right now. As the future comes and we get more things and more stuff is happening for Highlander, I think a lot of players will have benefited from buying and collecting and playing first edition right now. And as the new stuff comes for Highlander later on in the future, you're going to be happy that you did, because you'll have stuff to play and build for type 1 formats and things like that, because type 1 is never going to go away. It's a major format of the game. It's a way to bridge the gap between first edition and the rest of the editions for Highlander, the card game. It's a way to bridge that gap, put them together, and be able to play the game across all editions. So type 1 is never going to be going away. It's going to always be there, and I think that it should, because like I said, it's a major format. A lot of people love that format. It's a staple. So that's why I think that new players should be buying and playing, first edition, because they're going to later on in the future, when more stuff happens for Highlander, they're going to have that base, that foundation to really get a good start in type 1 format when they're buying second edition cards that become available, when they're buying these things, these sets, etc. They're going to be able to right away start from a good solid foundation. I think that's really important. So that's just my advice for a new player. If you're a veteran player, maybe now hopefully you can kind of see why I'm saying this. If you don't, hey, I respect it. I understand where you're coming from. But at the same time, new players need to have a good foundation before they're ready to really jump up to the different editions and formats. So I think first edition is a solid point. I think that there is enough product out there right now for a new player to buy a good amount of stuff, build, and have a good time with this game, and possibly teach some people how to play. I really think that that's where it lies. And also, like I said, continue to build your second edition collection as you go. Don't just buy all first edition stuff. If you can find second edition stuff as you go along and as you have the money to spend on it, I would suggest to do that. So don't think for a second that I'm saying don't buy second edition product, because like I said, as it becomes available, as you can find it, you should be buying it as well as your first edition product as well. I'm just saying, building and what's available right now, there's more first edition product available currently right now than there is second edition. So I just hope everybody, new players and veteran players alike, can kind of understand where we're at right now, stick with the game, and I know that big things are coming for Highlander. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be a lot of things that everybody wants. Like I said earlier in the video, there is a new set out for Highlander, the card game. You can find it at HighlanderTheCardGame.com, and those are all second edition cards, which I think that's another reason why the new set is amazing. It's all second edition cards. It might be the only time that people have ever had a chance to get their hands on second edition cards. So I suggest going and buying the new set, because like I said, it's all second edition stuff, and you can find booster boxes and sealed starter deck boxes from first edition, and you can get your hands on a brand new second edition set right now. So if you pick up the new set and you do what I'm saying, starting in first edition, you're going to be well on your way to really getting into this game. So I really think that that's where it lies. Go check out the new set, HighlanderTheCardGame.com. It's all one word. Check that out. Check out the video I made on it. Tell me what you think about it down down in the comments. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this stuff. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated this video, give it a thumbs down. The very next video I'm going to be making is a budget deck video. It's going to be a deck that you can put together with all first edition cards, what you can do right now with what's available of the first edition sets that you can buy right now. I'm going to put together a deck. This deck's not going to win a tournament. It's not going to be super competitive, but it will give you an idea of what you can do with very limited options, okay? And you can upgrade this deck as you go and as you get more stuff. And I'll also show you how to upgrade it in that very same video with just a couple of things that you could possibly find right now as well. So be on the lookout for that video. It's going to be the very next one that drops. It's going to be like a budget deck video. I hope that's going to help new players. I hope that's going to help kind of shine a light on what you can do with what's available right now. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, leave it a thumbs up. If you hated it, leave a thumbs down. Tell me down in the comments if you're ready for the budget deck video, if you have your new set, and just kind of tell me where you are in this journey for Highlander, the card game, because us together, we can take this game to new heights and we can just see what it has to offer, and it's an amazing game. So tell me what you think down in the comments, guys. As always, be on the lookout for that new video. Don't lose your heads out there, and remember, there can be only one collectible card game.